Like bad, like just rainy or
just rainy, windy,
cold.
You know, it's cold. Yeah,
you mean the Midwest?
Come on.
Now I know this sounds stupid, but
Good day, Internet.
Good day, Internet.
What's going on, Internet?
Hi.
What's going on, Internet?
Hello.
Hi, Trisha.
Rob and Len, I know it sounds stupid, but I would trade. I would love rainy and windy right now.
Rainy and windy.
No.
Well, you know,
No
we
windy.
have 4 seasons
No rain.
here.
Yeah, rainy, windy, and 44.
I mean,
Yeah,
that
no good.
honestly, if I was indoors with a cup of tea, I'm like, that's perfect.
Yeah, but
It's
then you're
making
stuck
my
indoors.
body
all
hurt.
day.
Yeah, but
No,
all I
it
do
is-
is sit indoors podcasting.
So, yeah, trick or
It
treat
is
for
85
my
degrees
neighborhood.
where I am right now.
Oh,
It
yeah,
is
that's
a
trick or treating.
Today.
hot
Oh,
and spicy day.
that's no good.
I was at
I
home,
know.
so
I
it's
want to wear
triple
all my
digits.
Halloween stuff, but all my Halloween stuff is like fall, right? Too hot out.
Oh, I
89,
decorated for Halloween
89.
yesterday, which was
I was thinking that yesterday because it was so hot here in LA. I was like, if this was the 31st, like I don't think the kids could, because the little kids go out early, like they're not out after dark. And I'm like, I don't think the kids could like safely be doing this, like wearing costumes.
yeah, they'll be
Too
fun.
hot.
Yeah,
I love my
kids,
neighborhood.
They'll
is
figure it out.
My neighborhood's a destination that people drive into to trick or treat because people do these really elaborate, which is great because I don't have to. I do like a couple of pumpkins and a bunch of fake grave headstones.
This,
Yeah.
you're
You're
this is the
participating.
first year that I have really kind of, I wouldn't say gone all out for Halloween, but I did go out and buy some Halloween decorations. It was my birthday.
Oh, I thought you meant candy.
So-
instead of making
No.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. I bought.
happy birthday, Len.
I bought some stuff to put up, and then my wife said, "Oh, you know what? We really should get more stuff." So we went back out and got more stuff. And one of the things I got was this body bag. Like there is an inflatable body inside of a body bag,
Oh,
and
kinda creepy.
It is kind of creepy. And I had caution tape. That just I just had it in my garage. I'm like, I'm gonna put this all over, and my wife was
Wait, why do you have caution tape in your garage?
because at one point we had a tornado here, and it destroyed our trampoline, so I had to keep kids off of it by putting caution tape all over it. So I had a big roll of it, and I'm like, I'm just gonna put this all over our front porch. And my wife was like, "Oh my gosh, did something happen to our house?"
So did you just like take out the trampoline, or did you let it heal itself or something?
Heal itself. Yeah, I said some prayers and it healed itself. No, we ended up getting a new one. So and it's a nicer one. And we put it away
Trampolines
for
to
the
me are like
season.
swimming pools. They're great in concept, but they just feel like giant liabilities. Just like
Well, that's why you need like a little a net around it so nobody falls off or hurts themselves.
I had a trampoline when I was younger, although I was not allowed to have one until I was 16. So almost an adult, right? So like at that point, you and your friends are kind of responsible for your own stupidity, right? Still, my parents were like, no flips. No, like they had all these rules. Guess how many of those rules were followed by said teenagers
Zero.
that came over to enjoy that
Yeah.
trampoline?
Yeah, I mean,
0%.
if someone's like, "Don't
No.
flip," you're like, "Let's see if we can."
It's right there. They actually print it. It's on the trampoline. It says only one person at a time, and I'm like,
yeah,
really?
what happens? Kids all pile in. You got 6.
2 minutes.
Well, because you realize you can launch people, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
you
that's-
land just before the next person lands, you launch them.
Yeah, you
That's
need
all
at least
anyone's
5,
doing.
like a good 5.
You
if you wanna
could
get that
5
person to go.
people. Yeah, we always have to during parties in our backyard. We always have to say, "Why don't you take about 5 of those kids off?"
That's what I mean. It's just a liability. It's like pools. Pools are great, but man, like you get one drowning
Oh.
kid, and then suddenly everyone points their finger at you.
Did everybody have a trampoline in their backyard? I never did. I had a like when I went to gymnastics class, we had a trampoline because it was
Did you have anything
it helped you
like-
like flip.
We didn't have anything growing up in our backyard.
Yeah,
we didn't have
neither
anything
did I.
fun.
I didn't
We just
really
had
have a
big
backyard.
Yeah.
I lived in San
I
Francisco.
like ran around outside. I don't remember having like
I went to the
cool
park.
things like trampolines though.
I stole newspapers from the machines.
1 minute.
You did?
What?
Yeah.
And then what? Did you read the
Nothing.
newspaper?
I just read the newspaper and then we just tossed it. It's just a newspaper. I mean, they change them every day. It's not like it's the same news at the beginning of the week.
No, I do remember that, like, that whole kind of like, because you put the quarter in and then you open the thing.
Yeah, you could
and
take
you're
as many
supposed
as
to
you
just take
want.
one, but you could take all of them.
But that's the thing. Why
Even
would
as
you
a
need...
kid, I was always like, this seems like a bad system.
Yeah, but like, why would you need 20 copies of the
30
same
cents.
newspaper? Besides, they don't make money off of you. They made money off advertisers.
Right.
I don't know.
They were the
I
Google
think
of
people
their day.
just love free things.
True. That's why when we go to Costco, all the lanes are clogged up with all those little sample people.
Ooh, I gotta get a Costco membership.
It's a great way to have lunch.
Costco tapas is just.
Did you know? By the way, I know we're right on it, but car rentals
10
through
seconds.
Costco, the way to go.
Oh, this is not a thing I knew.
They also do caskets.
Good show, everybody.
Yes, they do.
Caskets? Good day, Internet. This is DTNS Live for Thursday, October 30th, 2025. From Studio Animal House, I am Sarah Lane.
From Columbus, Ohio, I'm Robb Dunewood.
From Los Angeles, I'm Trisha Hershberger.
Drawing the top tech stories from Cleveland, I'm Len Peralta.
And I'm the show's producer, Roger Chang.
DTNS Live is made possible by you, thanks to all of you, including that Charlie dude, Justin Zellers, and Carmine Bailey.
Yay! We love our patrons. And welcome one and all to DTNS Live. This is the show where we discuss the week's tech news, help us all understand it a little bit better as we do it together. Trisha Hershberger, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Yay! I'm doing so well, and I'm so excited to be here and chat all the techie things with you folks. It's been a bit, and I love to be back.
Well, we're very, very happy to have you. Trisha's going to talk about the ROG Ally. Ally, rather. She has lots of thoughts about it, and she also has one with her right now, so she knows what she's talking about. But just a reminder, if you are watching us live, you can name this episode. Head to dtns.showbot.tv, open up that tab, and you can submit titles and vote on them throughout the show. We'll check back in on the votes at the end of the show, and we'll pick one that just shines the brightest. Reminder, we have an extended show for our patrons. So once we say goodbye, if you're a patron, stick around because we've got some fun stuff that Roger has cooked up for us. All right, without further ado, let's kick it off with a few stories that caught our eye today. OpenAI launched Aardvark, a GPT-5 powered cybersecurity agent designed to autonomously identify, explain, and help fix software vulnerabilities. It started as an internal tool, but now can connect to code repositories, scan for security flaws, test them in sandboxed environments, and suggest codex-generated patches for review. At least that's how OpenAI describes it. Currently in private beta with select partners, so you may not be able to use it now, but if you're interested, worth looking into.
At level 1, this sounds pretty cool. It's AI that can actually go and actively check for software vulnerabilities in code repositories. I think that's pretty cool. My concern is that as we continue to use these tools, do you get to the point to where nobody knows how to fix the code without AI? That becomes a concern.
Or you become overly reliant on them, and you just take it at its word. Like, yeah, it's either it's flawed or it's
well, that
secure.
sounds similar, right? It's like you don't totally know how to double check.
I could double check if it screws up a copy edit, right? Because like you can't put to a run-on sentence, and that doesn't work. But I'm not going to go through and double check millions of lines of code.
Yeah.
YouTube is introducing several new features for an enhanced television viewing experience, including a rapid shopping utility and improved visual fidelity for lower resolution content. The platform will automatically upscale videos below 1080p to high definition. With eventual plans for 4K upscaling, both content creators and viewers retain the option to decline these enhancements, thereby ensuring creators maintain autonomy over their content and viewers can access material in its original uploaded fidelity. So
I'm sure. I mean, if it can upscale, like someone uploaded an old episode of like Who's the Boss or something, in 320, and it can upscale to 4K. Yeah, who wouldn't want to see?
That's mixed results though on stuff like that.
Yeah,
I
that's
have,
what I'm
I
saying.
have found upscaling, in general, AI upscaling, like AI, right now, with weird hands, and there are all sorts of things that it's not quite there yet. I think it's very important that as a creator, you can be like, no, that video was supposed to be grainy. That's the creative process that journey that I was on. Don't screw with it. And as a viewer, as a consumer, you can say the same thing. So I think as long as you've got that option, these are good things for YouTube.
Yeah, there's a lot of AI enhancements to creator content right now on a variety of different platforms. And so far, the feedback that I've gotten from viewers is no, thank you. We don't want it. I would just like to see the content as it was originally uploaded. So maybe that will change, Sarah, to your point, as it gets a little better. But at least for right now, I love that we can opt out.
Yeah, I think right now the only thing I would be up for is just AI subtitling for videos that don't have the subtitle, like they don't have a closed caption for it in a different language, and it does a translation for you. All right, Xbox hardware revenue was down 29% year over year after Microsoft released its Q1 2026 earning report. Now, last quarter, Xbox hardware was already down 22%, on top of it being down 29% in the first 2 quarters of 2025, which was down itself 42% in Q4 of 2024. So, not
seems like a trend.
It is. It is. However, Microsoft did report a revenue of $77.7 billion for the quarter, which is up 18% from the same time last year, and its total net income, that means the money it actually says it's ours, we own it, is $27.7 billion, up 12%. Now the increase is attributed to Azure and cloud services that Microsoft is flogging very heavily. I mean, this is sort of goes back to what we were discussing last week with Robb about, like, what is Microsoft doing with Xbox? And
Rob, you kind of called this one.
I said there will be another Xbox. I don't know that there will be 2 more Xboxes. As I said last week, I don't think the Xbox is long for this world, because it seems like Microsoft is trying to do everything they can do to get everybody else to build hardware that Xbox games can run on.
I mean,
I wonder how much those earnings reports included Xbox games and software and Game Pass revenue and that kind of stuff, or if that's just Xbox hardware. Because if it's just Xbox hardware, that's really unsurprising. Xbox has made a hard left turn from hardware a couple years ago now, and have really been pushing play your games. It doesn't matter what hardware you play it on. So if it includes the Game Pass numbers, I'd be shocked. But if it's just hardware, yeah.
Yeah, and they just bumped up the price in response to the current challenging economic headwinds that we are currently facing. So it's not like the Xbox hardware is getting cheaper. And it's I think we're in a transition point, and people will look back on it. It's like, oh, that was just that bump in the road that you always get when you sort of switch over. I mean, Sega had the same thing. People thought Sega, after they dropped hardware development, like, oh, they're just going to do arcades and be like this sub-tier, publisher. And they started not just doing in-house, they started publishing not just in-house games, but third-party games as well. And, they're still around. Sega's still around.
Well, those are top 3 stories that caught our eye this week. Let's get into some discussions. So earlier this week, Meta added what it's calling ghost posts to threads. These are temporary posts that vanish after 24 hours. Ephemeral posting. We're used to these on other platforms. They are automatically archived after that point. Only the author can see likes, and then replies come in as DMs, direct messages, instead of public comments. So you say something, you get a conversation that just comes to you. It's private. It's not public discourse. Meta says the feature encourages more unfiltered sharing and is also meant to promote Threads' new inbox feature, obviously. I guess my question to the panel today, and I'll start with you, Trisha, is does something like this make you want to go to Threads more because you might miss something? Or does it feel like, people are going to be posting stuff, it's going to go away, I have no time for that?
It's interesting that that's how you brought in that question, because I hadn't even thought of that aspect of it, that you would need to touch base just in case something's going to go away. So I definitely did not think of that. But I guess if I followed a creator who I was really interested in that did that type of posting a lot, that might make it more that case. To me, the idea of it goes away so you can be less filtered is kind of silly because people can screenshot it.
Yeah.
So whether you're angry posting or whatever posting, like a lot of times with, things you don't want to live on the internet forever, it makes sense in story or video form. And I guess people can screenshot that too. But for whatever reason, putting it in text for me is like, well, it's the same as like tweeting or threadsing something and then deleting it 24 hours. Everybody already saw it. So that's not really unique from a content creator perspective. But to your point, is it unique from a content consumer perspective? I guess so. And it does certainly promote inbox, which I know Threads users have been asking for a long time, because the one thing they're really missing, a lot of people are, exodus from Twitter. The one thing they're really missing are those DMs, right? So can we get that on Threads so that we don't have to be on Twitter? Although I don't know what the general pulse is, and I toss this to the rest of the panel on, is Threads that much better or samesies as Twitter at this point?
I mean, Rob, you spend a lot of time on Threads. Is this something that you would use or want other people to use?
Threads is my social media platform of choice. I probably use it more than all the rest of them combined as far as posting and going to see what people that I follow have posted. This feature struck me as, they probably had the code in somewhere that was readily available. People want new stuff. Let's throw this thing on here and see if we can just make the platform more sticky. So what is happening right now? Everybody and their mother is creating these posts to disappear. My gut tells me is that it will be kind of a fad and it'll kind of go away, because to your point, Trish, if you post something saucy and you tell everybody that it's saucy by putting it in a post that's going to disappear, you're going to make everybody screenshot that just so they have the this is what you actually said, a day or two later. It makes you more likely to screenshot something if you see that this is an ephemeral post. So I don't know with text if it makes a lot of sense beyond it's something new and it's a shiny toy right now that people are playing with.
Even if it wasn't saucy, let's say, World Series, right? Happening right now. I'm posting about how I feel about, somebody's home run type thing. But it's like, it doesn't really make sense in context. This has been a problem on Twitter for, since the inception of Twitter, right? That people, if they see your tweet or, X post now, a couple days later, they're like, what? Are you okay? And, without context, sometimes I'm like, if you're here and you're following the same thing that I'm following, you're going to get it. And then this can just go away. It's kind of a throwaway. It doesn't have to be like, ooh, juicy gossip, but just something that doesn't need to live there.
I mean, the thing is, this really only works long term if people all have the memory of a goldfish, right? Like, you just forget that you looked at something and ooh, magic. I think I sort of with Rob that you'll see an uptick in activity, but it's going to go back down after the novelty wears off. And it's like, well, I mean, what can you do with this that you wouldn't be doing before, other than maybe saucy or inappropriate content? But even then, it's like, I mean, the people who are going to do that are already going to do that. So,
well, I also, let's remember this is Meta, which runs Instagram and Threads, and Instagram stories are really popular. Instagram stories, I don't actually look at them all that often because I feel like it's too much pressure, because I feel like it has the opposite effect with me, because I'm like, I don't want to look at it because they're just going to go away, and then I'm going to be on the platform too long and I don't have time. I have to make dinner. But Threads is, I think that what they're hoping is that people want to go to Threads to see all that stuff that's going to go away soon. But the rest of us are like,
they're missing that. But
can't keep up.
This is one of those things where you mistake one feature of a platform and try to replicate it without really understanding why. If people find it compelling, right? Well, what is it about stories that isn't with Threads, right? You get a video, you get all the other stuff with it. It's like a little package, right? It's like saying well, if I just deconstruct this, this appetizer, so instead of a little pate on a cracker with an olive, I just give you the olive. It's like, well, no, it's not the whole thing. It's you're missing
Yeah.
some of it.
Yeah, I mean, Instagram stories, the appeal of that, I post them all the time and I watch them all the time. So I'm a big stories consumer. But the appeal of that is that it takes all the pressure of an Instagram in feed needing to be perfectly curated, because that's going to live on your feed forever. Everyone can see those engagement metrics. It's very public. Stories is like, nobody really cares. It's going to go away after a little while anyway.
Mhm.
And there's no publicly viewable metrics on any of those posts. So as a creator, I can literally just be like, I don't know, going live today. And by the time my stream is over, to your point, Sarah, of like, if you're doing something in the moment, like it's gone. It's not something people need to see later. It hasn't timed itself out. And also, like a day like today is a no makeup Trish day. That's a stories day. That's not an industry day. You know what I mean? Like there's just a difference.
I hear that.
Right? Or like small takes on a new tech product I have, as opposed to a full video where I feel like I have to mention everything. That's stories. Also, stories on Instagram are still chronological feed. So if you don't want to deal with the algorithm nonsense, you just want to see what your friends are up to, stories is where it's at. But I don't know that all those good things translate to threads. Like, I don't know how many people overthink the snot out of their threads posts. I don't.
So here's where I'm seeing this could be useful. Like when I'm on threads, I would say that 95% of the content I post is about podcasting or about tech. But every now and again, I'll be watching a game and it's like, oh, that was a nice dunk. And I'll just literally put that on threads, and only the people who are watching the game at the same time even get the reference. So I could see, okay, well, yeah, I'll make that, something that goes away because it's not really central to the content that I normally talk about.
Yeah,
But
because
it's
otherwise you're
something
going
like
to get
that.
all these
Yeah.
comments of like,
And-
what dunk, what game, where,
Yeah, well,
where
do you
are
want do you want a conversation or do you want a throwaway? And it's really hard to do that with the same exact tool. Like I know Twitter's been trying it. I don't know. It's mixed success for me. But I don't know.
I also find the DM part of this a little perplexing, just, to compare it to Instagram again, just because if I post a story, which I do occasionally, but not very often, then it's like, I see later, like, oh, I have all these DMs, and it's somebody just being like, thumbs up, or like heart, or I'm like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
I didn't really need this. Every so often it's actually like a conversation, it's some discourse, but the DM stuff tends to feel clunky to me.
It feels clunky because it's just bolted on. It doesn't ever feel like it's there or natural. Also, when you have a long conversation over DM, even in X, I don't know, you just feel like you're writing on someone else's platform who for any reason just decides to cut it.
Just
like,
peek at it.
Like, like there's one thing to be said about, RCS and all the rest, but it's a standard, it's cross-platform. If you want to keep it, you can make a backup of it, on your device. But there's something just very neutral about it. But whereas you're like, oh, you can only talk to this person because they're only accessible on X. I don't know. I think that aspect of social media I wish would die.
Another part of this could be that it could be ultimately Meta's trying to get people to use DMs on threads, because although there were a few folks who wanted DMs, I'll raise my hand to that. I actually wanted them there because I don't use Instagram. There's a lot of people, please don't bring DMs to this platform. They simply didn't want it, and now they have it. And I'm wondering if they're getting metrics that people just aren't using DMs. Maybe they see this as a way to get people to use that feature on the platform.
You can't continually atomize platforms to the point where people now have to keep track of 6 different things, right? Oh, is it my email? Is it my RCS? Is it my instant message? Anything? And then it's exhausting. It's obnoxious. And if it's something important, right? You tell people, it's like, you know what? You just text me at this phone number because it's important. Everything else I blow off.
Well, it's so fascinating, right? Because it's hearing all this conversation makes me think, okay, I know the people who were coming over from Twitter and looking at threads as a Twitter alternative really wanted DMs. Because if you used Twitter DMs, the reason you use them was generally, or at least the reason I use them, was to connect with people at like industry events, connecting with other people for work. And then when like the initial outreach wouldn't be via email, because at an event, you're not exchanging business cards or email addresses anymore because that's uncool, right? You're like, oh, well, what's your handle? Let me follow you. And then you've got a picture and a name right next to each other, and you can communicate and DM on Twitter. I don't know that the community on Threads is as like industry work minded because they're coming over from Instagram. And Ron, as someone that uses Threads all the time, could you see yourself using Threads DMs as like an initial business outreach?
I could, and that's why I wanted it, because I didn't come from Instagram. I came from X. I came from Twitter. And so one of the things is like, I don't want to have a conversation in front of everybody. Sometimes I just want to say, hey, here's my information. Here's how you can, here's how you can get a hold of me, or vice versa. So I actually wanted it, but I know that there's a lot of people who said, no, I don't want that. I've got everything else on earth that you could possibly get a hold of me directly if you wanted to. Don't make this be another place where I now have to track yet another inbox.
And what I do now, I mean, I used to do that with X when it was Twitter. But now I just do it with LinkedIn. It's like, are you in LinkedIn? Okay, I'll find you. Right? Like, 'cause that's what it's for. And so you don't feel weird about like, hey, I hear you're doing so-and-so. I might have a great opportunity for you. Let's connect. I don't know. It's just like, I think we've moved out of that phase of where social media was just like really cool. Like, let's connect and be friends and do all sorts of cool things, to more like, hey, I don't have a business card, but I have a LinkedIn account. Why don't you just shoot me a message about what you want to do?
Well, and it's also, are you using it for work? Are you using it for fun? There's lots of reasons that we do both of those things on social networks. All right, Rob. The United States, has it done an about face on electric vehicles? We've been talking about this for a few years now.
Yeah, Sarah, it kind of seems like it. GM is letting go of 1,200 employees at its Detroit EV plant, 550 at its Ohio battery spot. Now, that's in Warren, Ohio. That's actually where I am from, and I know a couple people who that's affecting. And it's also furloughing another 850 in Ohio at plants and 700 in Tennessee at plants. So GM is actually doing kind of good right now, but not necessarily with EV. So that's a data point. So I think that it is also safe to say that the ending of that $7,500 tax credit has definitely had an effect on sales. Ford CEO Jim Farley said late last month that he wouldn't be surprised if electric car sales dropped by 5% of the total U.S. vehicle sales this month, about half of that level from August. So we still need to see those numbers, but predictions indicate a 43% year over year drop. That's massive for an area where cars are supposed to be going, we should be seeing more EVs sold than less, and to drop 43% because of the subsidy being, being done away with, that is also huge. So when you take into account, that, you have that, EVs are still a hassle to charge, to 80%, it generally still takes you like 30 to 60 minutes if you're not at the house. If it takes 30 minutes to charge it, and it's just a hassle and it only takes 3 minutes to get gas, there's a data point. And then the biggest one is that these things are just more expensive than ICEs, internal combustion engines. And when you take the subsidy away, they're now significantly more expensive. On the lower end, these cars now can be 25, 30% more than a ICE comparable car. So that's a big deal. And I'm just wondering, with all those data points, I don't want to say that we've jumped a broom on electric vehicles. That's definitely not the case. But have we kind of just slowed down on how fast that we think these things are going to be adopted here in the U.S.?
I mean, car sales across the country have dropped, not just EVs, right? Traditional internal combustion engine cars as well. One of those is the increased cost, right? A brand new car, at least in the North American U.S. markets, you're looking at mid $30,000, right? A cheap decent used car you're looking at $20,000. Still a lot of money for a lot of people. These aren't exactly a very prosperous times for a lot of people, no matter what socioeconomic bracket you're in. And I think this is just because EVs are the most high profile, but I think it's just a general trend. I mean, you can read stories about like there's just the number of new cars sitting on dealer lots is growing because no one's going to pay $50,000 for a new Chevy Silverado.
But how does that how does what's going on now? How is it different than, because in the past, if that was the case, then they dropped the price of the cars on the lot so that they move some merch.
Well, they do. They're doing that right now. The problem is that their input costs have not dropped. Right, the cost of steel, the cost of aluminum, stamped parts. If you have a product like most of the large automotive companies that straddle multiple countries, like in North America, you're paying for inputs from what used to be a tariff-free transition from Mexico to the U.S. or Canada to the U.S. or Canada to Mexico. And so you have a lot of increased in costs somewhere that didn't used to exist. And when your business model is designed for the former and not the latter, there's a lot of painful adjustments that need to be made. And I will add, it's not just the U.S. I mean, Porsche had to write down over $1 billion because they invested heavily in EVs, and they aren't being picked up as quickly as they thought they would because the market, their number one market, China, saw a downturn as domestic competitors have started to eat into Western car makers' sales in that country. And so what you see is, one, input costs are high. Two, people financially don't have the money to spend on these cars. And three, there's a very hungry competitor that's trying to eat into the market shares for a lot of these companies, and they're looking for different ways to be able to maintain or at least tread water until they figure out a solution to the whole thing.
I'm really sad about the EV credit going away. I'm a huge EV fan. We own 2 of them in my house. Both of our cars qualified for that credit when we bought them. Now, our cars are older. We bought them in 2017 and 2019. They're still kicking. They're still running great. And a lot of the pain points, Rob, that you had mentioned in terms of owning an EV and it taking a bit to charge and stuff like that, it does require a bit more pre-planning for sure. But at this point, I don't want to have to go back to an internal combustion engine. But with that tax credit going away, it does really make it out of a lot of people's price point that they feel comfortable spending in. And I know it would be for my family. And, whenever you have a new technology, it's going to be more expensive and you're going to have a harder time asking people to buy in because it is a bit more of a lift. Like I said, on the planning on the front end to know where your chargers are. Maybe you have to even get a charger installed in your home. I saw a comment from W. Scottus One saying the infrastructure is there in major cities, but not a lot of infrastructure for EV chargers in rural areas. Like those people would be relying on home chargers or dealer chargers for the most part. So it is still an ask of the consumer. So it's like the credit was there to offset that. Now that that credit's going away, it's going to really take an EV enthusiast, I think, to continue buying those cars if you're used to it. And certainly if you're a first time EV owner, but I'm really sad about it. I love EVs. I've saved so much money at the pump. We have 1 plug-in hybrid and 1 all electric. So I get gas in my car sometimes. It's a plug-in hybrid, but most of the time I can rock and roll all EV for like running my child to school and back and stuff like that. And so I'll be really sad if people stop.
And that's the thing. That's the difference a lot of people take time to adjust is that with an EV, most of the costs are up front, right? With an ICE, you're paying for the life of the car, right? It's not just gasoline. It's the oil changes. It's the replacement of your, your CV joints. There's a bunch of maintenance that you do over the lifetime of your car. If you actually add it up, it would be comparable, but because you see it later on and all at once at the beginning, people don't have the sticker shock.
There's also an interesting second market EV thing going on right now. So, if you're, like Trisha is, it's like, I'm an enthusiast, I love this car. It works perfectly for me. I mean, in my neighborhood, I cannot tell you how many people own Teslas. Now, I'm not looking through anybody's,
Windows
financial records. But I can tell you, they did not buy these Teslas new. And, it doesn't have to be Tesla. It can be lots of different EVs. But I think that part of that can be really attractive in this scenario.
But even with getting them used up until last month, you were able to get a discount. It was not $7,500, I believe it was $4,000 for a used EV. So that still helps bring the price for those cars down. And I am in the market to get a new car either very late this year or it's probably going to be Q1 next year. I'll be getting something new. And I kind of thought about potentially getting an EV. And but here's how I am. I am not an EV enthusiast. I just think that they're cool. I think that the technology in the cars are cool. And I'd be willing to pay, $3,000-$4,000 more for an equivalent, but I'm not necessarily willing to pay $10,000-$12,000-$15,000 more for an EV that would be, that would cost that much more than the equivalent ICE. And I think a lot of people are in the boat with me. And then, like I said, for me, I know that when people have, EVs, they get used to how you don't have to fill it up. You just charge until you need to get to the next point where you're going to charge again. But that's muscle memory that it takes that you have to develop. I'm still used to going to the pump and pumping my gas, and it takes me 3 minutes, and then I drive for a week and a half, and then I go and do it again. So I don't know that I would want to trade the hassle and pay more to get the hassle, because, Roger, to your point, yes, there is savings over the life of it, but that's like getting a tax credit once every 5 to 7 years. That just doesn't move me. I want the money right now.
Exactly.
No, it's every oil change. No oil changes. Woo!
Yeah.
Add those up.
It is such a part of it is we're trying to apply what we've learned with internal combustion engine cars to an EV, when I think it needs a different model of not just ownership but also buying, right? Like, EVs seem ripe for maybe some sort of leasing system where it's a little more flexible, where you say, hey, after 5 years, you essentially just, it's sort of like a long-term rent with the car, and then like when the battery life is like at like 60%, you just get something new. I don't know. It's just I think there's going to be a lot. It's still moving ahead, but I think there's still going to be a lot of resistance until people can financially say this makes sense for me.
Yeah.
Well, folks, if you've got any feedback on EVs and how they're working out in the U.S., in the foreseeable future, or any feedback on anything that gets brought up on the show, get in touch with us on the socials at DTNS Show on X, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Mastodon. For TikTok and YouTube, you can find us at Daily Tech News Show.
When the Asus ROG Xbox Ally was first announced, there were a lot of questions. Is it a handheld gaming PC like the Legion, or a handheld version like the Xbox Series X game console? Something in between? Trisha, I know you spent a lot of quality hours with the ROG, so what do we need to know?
Yes, there is a lot of confusion around this product online. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that it's been marketed as, this is an Xbox. It's a handheld Xbox. And the question then comes, what is an Xbox? And different people have different answers to that question, which is why this is so confusing for people. So if you consider an Xbox to be access to your Xbox specific library, then this is not an Xbox. Shocker. Hot take. This is more like a gaming PC, like a handheld gaming PC. However, with the Xbox full screen experience overlay. Now, if you consider the answer to what is an Xbox to be accessing Game Pass, accessing my Xbox user interface that I'm used to, which, by the way, Microsoft, I think, is in the process of changing so it all looks the same, whether you're on a gaming PC or on an Xbox or on an ROG Xbox Ally, for example, then yes, it certainly is an Xbox. So it just depends what it is that you're looking at. But I do think there's a lot of confusion there. I also think because they're saying, this is a handheld Xbox, a lot of people are comparing it to the Xbox Series X. I don't think they're in the same product category at all. Your Xbox Series X is no more are they in the same category than getting a desktop PC versus a laptop, right? Or better yet, versus a PC gaming handheld. They're different product segments for different types of consumers. So a lot of the comparison that's like, yes, but I'm getting a better price to performance ratio with an Xbox Series S or X. Yeah, you are. That's true. Because with this, you're paying for the portability, right? And the new form factor. So if it comes down for a lot of people to, I can only get one type of Xbox, what kind am I going to get? I personally would probably recommend you go with a Series S or X that you can keep at home. That's going to be your best bang for your buck. But if you have an Xbox Series X or S at home already and you're looking for something you can travel with, And I know I've seen people travel with the Xbox Series S. They make these really cute suitcases for them that you can hook up a portable monitor and like use your Series S on a plane. That's a little bulky and not for everybody.
But it can be done.
Something like this. So I've seen a lot of reviews come out that say like, this is a really awesome product. I'm not sure who it's for. And to me, the answer to that is I think this is for people who want a game on the go that don't necessarily want to bring a whole console with them and don't necessarily want to even bring a gaming laptop with them. Maybe we're going to just bring a Bluetooth controller and hook it up to their laptop anyway. This is an easier way to do that. It also has roughly the same battery life as you're going to find in a high-end gaming laptop anyway. So it's really what form factor do you prefer? And I'm curious, I'm going to toss it out to the panel before I go into like the second thing I have to say about this, because there's so much. I have so many thoughts. What is your preferred form factor when you're gaming? And this is a personal question. Everyone's going to have a different answer.
I prefer the couch lean back experience. One, because I've always played that way. But two, as an older individual, my eyes don't work so well with smaller screens anymore.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you on that. Just, not having held the Ally myself. Even, my phone, which is a, iPhone Pro Max. I mean, it's the largest iPhone I can get currently. I use it when I have to. When I'm, hanging out at home, I'm on, my big 34-inch desktop or my laptop, but something that has the larger screen. And that kind of sit back on the couch and enjoy that you mentioned, Roger, I think is also a big part of it. But, form factors, people have very differing opinions about this.
I have a Series X, and it is connected to an 80-inch television upstairs. And if I could afford it, I would put an IMAX in my basement theater so I could play and have the characters be 11 feet tall. That's just me. I will also say that I have found that playing streaming games on my tablet when I'm out and about, I don't mind that experience. I know that you're going to get a little lag that you wouldn't get if you're actually playing on the actual hardware. But for most of the games that I'm playing, I'm usually playing by myself. So that little bit of lag is not that big a deal because I'm not in an active battle with another person that I'm trying to beat for most of the type of games that I play. So I really enjoy just taking my second controller for my Xbox and just keeping it in my laptop bag because I always have a tablet in that laptop bag or a laptop in that laptop bag. And I don't mind playing the streaming games on either of those devices.
Yeah, streaming has certainly come a long way in terms of the user experience. And it sounds like for Sarah and Roger, you guys don't really travel game a lot. Like that's not a high priority for you.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So if you're in the comfort of your own home, for sure, like I said, if you're only going to get one, get the home experience because that's going to be your highest performance, best bang for your buck experience. Now for me, so like again, this article, it's like, it's a cool device. I'm not sure who it's for. For me, I travel for work a lot. And I will tell you that my gaming laptop, when I go to plug it into an airplane outlet, it won't charge because the power that needs to be drawn by a gaming laptop is more than the 70 watts that a typical airplane outlet can put out.
So annoying.
So it won't charge at all. And I'm just done. Like I get about 2 hours and then I'm out of battery. This solves that problem very specifically for me. The charger on this is a 65 watt charger. I can play it on the plane on the highest TDP all day, no problem. And so I think for very specific use cases, and I am one of these people, this is a really cool device. And so not to convince anybody that, this is a right device for you or even that this form factor is right for you. But if you are someone who's like, all right, portable gaming PC handheld, I need one. Like maybe you have the same use case as me where you need to plug it in on a plane. Then we start to look at which PC gaming handheld is the right PC gaming handheld for you. And again, I think that answer is going to differ pretty widely per person. But this is the original ROG Ally. This is the ROG Xbox Ally. So you can see if you're watching this visually that they have a different form factor. The grips on the side are totally different. Now, because the ROG Xbox Ally is newer, it has better specs. depending which model of it you're looking at. But this has the Ryzen AI Z2 Extreme, which right now versus the competition is going to best it a bit there. You can see that on the screen, but both are really decent devices. Both are really great. Of course, this being the 2023 model, or even if you got the 2024 model, are going to be less expensive because this is the new shiny that just launched. The differences in them, besides the handholds, which I think the handholds make a big difference. I know a lot of people that think the ROG Ally is very uncomfortable, especially if you have bigger hands, like your hands will cramp up. I think it feeling like an Xbox controller is really cool. But the other big difference between this and other PC gaming handhelds is the Xbox full screen experience, which is not only the launcher it launches into, but it also makes it so that it doesn't load up with all of the RAM and resources you would typically load up in Windows desktop. So it is prioritizing some of that for your gaming. However, this is interesting. In testing, people have said while it is freeing up some RAM and system resources, there's no noticeable FPS difference. Now, I'm sure that's dependent upon which game you're playing, but the more these have been out in the wild, the more we'll get feedback on that. But that's what it's intended to do. Now, will Microsoft roll out this Windows and Xbox full screen experience across the board? So your Xbox interface, your Game Pass on PC interface, all of these, your Xbox app on your phone look exactly the same? Probably. That's my hypothesis, so that it all is Xbox. And I put that in bunny rabbit quotes because that's assuming Xbox means the user interface. And again, what is an Xbox? So there's a lot of complexity, I think, when it comes to discussing handheld gaming PCs, and especially one that's made by Xbox, and a lot of confusion around it, rightly so.
One question for you. Can you hook it to a television when you're in a hotel room? Or do you have to play on the handheld?
No, you can. It's full Windows. I have not tried that yet, so I don't know what type of display you could expect it to output, but you could connect that to a dock, like a USB hub dock, and plug in a mouse and a keyboard and a display. I know people that installed OBS software on their original ROG Ally and streamed all of their Gamescom coverage from this baby. So it's a full PC. And you can do a lot with it as a result of that. But I also think console gamers are very confused as a result of that.
That might be a good way to think of it. Is it's a PC. It just is small and rectangular compared to the PC, that you have sitting in your office. Well, thank you, Trisha. Really good intel. If anybody has thoughts, and I know many of you do, send it our way. feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. All right, Roger, let's talk about LLMs and AI generative tools pitched as ways to increase our productivity. Of course they are. That's what all companies want us to use them for. They make writing, emailing, note-taking easier, all sorts of stuff. But what about pulling a fast one over on the boss?
So there was a really interesting story, both in Ars Technica and it was actually in the Financial Times, about AppZen, an AI-powered finance platform that said fake receipts made up to 14% of the fraudulent documents that were submitted on the platform in September, compared with last year where they had none. Now, separately, a fintech company called Ramp said its software flagged more than $1 million in fraudulent invoices over 90 days. And a expense management software, Medius, did a poll of U.S. and UK workers and found about 30% of them said that they've seen an increase in fraudulent expense receipts since the launch of GPT-4o last year. To quote Chris Juno, the senior VP and head of product development at SAP, these receipts have become so good, we tell our customers, do not trust your eyes. And so my question to all of you is, like, at what point will all these other, all these things that all these, not rituals, but all these systems we've had in place for decades to take things like, hey, I'm submitting my invoice for all the expenses I've had on this company trip. And now you have a tool that can make very convincing receipts for, like, the Benihana's that you never went to, or over to the Dwayne Reed that you bought, a toothbrush and toothpaste that you never did because you wanted nickel and dime, the travel and expenses division of your company just to give you a little more to pad out your income.
Yeah, I think that that's for anybody listening to this and being like fake receipts, invoices, like what's going on here. If you haven't done this, depending on the size of your company, you might be more scrutinized or less scrutinized. I once worked for a very large company where, we had company credit cards. And you can't use them for just anything. I mean, you would have to explain what you use them for, but nobody was really looking all that closely at it. So you could basically get free money back for saying that you did something that you needed to be reimbursed for. I'm not saying I ever did anything like that, but obviously that is an issue.
And this is one of the cases where if you do enough small things, people tend not to notice, as opposed to the one very expensive thing. And so,
if you buy a car, the company's going to be I don't know. Should we
back then I had a company charge card that would allow me to buy a car, except that most car lots won't let you pay with a credit card. But it's interesting to see how inventive people have become with so many of these tools to make their lives somewhat better. Because I will say I haven't done this specifically, but there have been instances where I've used generative AI tools to help me get around a lot of, say, the fencing around certain things that would otherwise make you pay. And I will give a free example, because this is the show that I like to produce, a free one, is that oftentimes a lot of job boards, what they do is they just basically collect job listings from different companies and they put it on their board, and then they give you the little teaser headline of what the job is. But if you want to see the whole thing, you got to sign up for an account, right? Typically it's like 30 days free or whatever. And what I found is all I need to do is take a screenshot of that initial job description, and they don't give any description who put it, and then I just send it to Google Gemini, and say, hey, find me the actual original job post for this, and it'll pull it up for me, and then I just apply directly on the job, on the company.
I feel like that's just smart, though.
But that's what I mean.
You're not a thief.
Well, this is the idea. The idea is not so much that you're stealing money, but you're just taking advantage of the tools to maybe accelerate the things you might have been doing otherwise, but just a lot slower.
That's the thing, Roger, is I feel like people that are generating AI receipts that are fraudulent 5-10 years ago could have been doing the exact same thing in Photoshop, right? It just takes you a little longer in Photoshop to make it happen.
Let me ask you.
It's not that it's inspiring people to be sneaky. They were probably sneaky anyway. This was just allowing them to do it a little fast.
Back in the day, I had to approve quite a few expense reports for employees that worked in my organization. And one of the things that the company did was that if you stayed in a hotel, you just submitted the receipt for the hotel. But let's say that you stayed at a friend's house, or you stayed somewhere like you had a friend or family member and you stayed at their house, you would also be able to submit that, and you just got a flat rate for that. And what a lot of folks figured out is that, wait a minute, if I'm getting like XYZ amount for staying at a friend's house, and that amount is less than what it would cost for me to get like the cheapest hotel, because I just don't care where I stay, they would pay to stay in their own hotel on their own, and then say they were staying at a friend's house, so they would get the larger amount and then do the difference. And I hated that we had to let people go over doing just dumb stuff like that. You would take your, you would put your job into, jeopardy. But Monday I did DTNS with Jason, and we actually talked about this story. And I said, I'm just wondering how easy it is to do it. You can make very, very convincing expense reports. I mean, there's no way that you would look at it and be able to tell that this didn't actually come from a hotel or this didn't come from a restaurant. You literally would almost have to call the restaurant and have them confirm that it was a real receipt.
Yeah. Did Rob actually dine here on Tuesday?
The one I got when I first went to my first Comdex, but even before CES. And so I said, Roger, just collect a bunch of like taxi cab receipts, because they always give them to you blank, and you have to fill out what you paid and how much you tipped, right? It's like, right, you just fill that. It's like, whatever. If you forget, just put a flat rate like $20, $30, and just put it in. They'll pay you.
I mean, a lot of this feels like this is an old school thing that we're still dealing with and is going to go away at some point. That taxi cab card that you're talking about. It's like, there have been many times where I'm like, well, it was $50 from JFK to, my hotel in New York, but I could say it was $80. I mean, who's to stop me?
The cab, you don't. The cab's company's not going to tell you.
They don't
'cause it's-
care.
Yeah,
They don't.
care.
They,
Well,
it
they got-
doesn't
well, they got
matter.
their
You,
money.
you
They
pay
have
them
no-
whatever you pay them. They have
Well,
nothing to do with this.
but they have no way of telling you the actual amount because they didn't track it that way. And so all this does is all these AI tools have all it done is just sort of exacerbate and shown where all the cracks are that were already existing. And I'm curious to know how quickly a lot of the companies will like, all right, now we're going to process these with AI, and see where it all leads. And then, it's going to get kind of, I have a feeling it's going to get pretty ugly for a little bit, where people are just kind of like, they're just going to get a flack per diem.
Well,
For some of these
there's
things.
a lot of like, wow, look at what AI can do, and look at what I can get away with.
Yes.
Right. Before the companies get hip to the game, which some companies obviously already are, or we wouldn't be talking about this right now.
Yeah, we probably don't have to for our audience, but I'm going to do so anyway. Folks, we are not suggesting that you call here and try to do this stuff, because if your company finds out, you will be terminated, and probably they will, seek legal action
And
against
worse,
you.
yeah.
Because this is like you literally are you're embezzling money when you're doing these kind of things. But people are people. Folks are going to try, not folks, everybody, but there are some folks that are going to try to get over whenever there's an opportunity for them to try to get over. And this is just another example of
I'm still waiting for the extreme couponer, someone to figure out to generate fake coupons, like so they can get their like one bottle of Tide that's free.
That
Somebody
must
said,
already be
geez,
happening.
thanks, Roger. You just messed my
I
house
think
up.
a
Oh,
lot
I
of them
just
have some kind
I
of,
just
like,
ruined a
tag.
multi-million-dollar scheme.
Don't a lot of them have like some kind of special ink or tag or something on them so you can't just print it out?
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
guess they're
There's,
magazine clippings, right?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not in a couponer because most of the products I would never buy willingly. But it's I'm curious because there's so many of these things that have a huge tail, because all these coupon things came out in the 60s, right? 50s, 60s, and it's just had a long tail since then. So how long does it take for the infrastructure to catch up?
Yeah. Well, lots to think about here. If you have experience with anything, and we're not asking you to disclose anything that is illegal to us, do let us know. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. Speaking of that, let's check out the mailbag.
So Tony writes in a recent episode, Tom and Rob, that's me, we're talking about Microsoft being taken to court by the Australian ACCC. One of the comments made was that mom and pop shops do similar things by increasing the price of products so that they can put them on sale. This is also illegal in Australia, and a number of large stores have also been taken to court for getting caught for doing such things. That is not a problem for places here in the United States. They do it all the time. While Australia is far from perfect and quite a few large companies get away with some pretty shady practices, we do have some good consumer protection mechanisms in place. When the ACCC does not notice things, it can occasionally do a good job and hold these companies to account.
Oh, thank you, Tony. Always good to know how things are going down under and elsewhere. Yeah, the whole idea of inflating prices just so you can put them on sale. I can't imagine how many times I've fallen for that. Probably a million.
But this is the thing. Like, the internet has made that like a very foolhardy exercise, because people can see, because there's sites that track that now, right? Like, so why would you, especially if you're in a very competitive, like if you live in the LA area, you're in a very competitive retail outlet space, right? You have big box stores, you have small box stores, you have everything in between. If you got caught doing, which is why like I don't have a data cap on my internet provider, because if they did that, that's like shooting themselves in the foot. But this is more pervasive in areas where there's fewer competitors, and unfortunately, it's when you think you have 5 supermarkets but they're all owned by the same company, you're not really having competition. You're just deciding.
Like, also, how many times, this isn't something that's, breaking the bank. How many times have you been at the grocery store and it's like, oh, I need pasta, right? And it's like, ooh, 2 for $5 on sale. They got the little label there, and it's like, is it always $2.50? I'm not going through the trouble of figuring that out. I'm just like, oh, it's on sale, so I'll get 2 of them.
I did that in college because I was stupid, right? And also I was broke. So you're like, oh, I want to get a deal. Or you get the buy 5 to get the reduced price. It's like, no, I'm just going to go to the grocery outlet store and get like the off-brand, organic thing that's like $1.99 instead of paying $3 for this.
Well, everybody's shopping habits are different. But again, thank you, Tony, for the on-the-ground report. Keep it coming, everybody. And speaking of, I don't know, being in the air, maybe you're like Trisha and you do a lot of travel. If too much luggage is a curse when you do travel, especially if you're paying extra for overweight bags on flights, Chris Christensen might have a solution for you.
This is Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler with another Tech in Travel Minute. If you're someone who likes to overpack and you sometimes get hit with extra fees for luggage that is too heavy, obviously before your flight you could weigh your luggage and make sure you're not going to pay too much by going over the limit for the airline you're on. But if you're traveling, what do you do if you're bringing things home? You can carry a small digital luggage scale. It's handheld. You dangle your suitcase from it. It tells you how much it weighs, and you can make sure you don't overpack and save on those fees. You can buy one for less than $10. Just search for luggage scale at Amazon or somewhere else. And this is Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler.
I was about to say, well, you're going to know that it's overweight, but that's not really going to help you. But like Chris was saying, if you think about that ahead of time, and it's really important not to have that extra fee, then you can be like, yeah, maybe not going to buy this thing.
Have you ever had that happen? One Christmas, we got a bunch of lotions, candles, and stuff. And we were in New Jersey, so we had to fly back to California. And it just added like 30 pounds. So we were at the airport. It was like, no, I'm not paying that. And we just took all these bottles of like scented, like just toss them. It's like, throw it away. Who needs these candles? Just toss them. It's like, I'm not paying $80. Sorry.
See, Roger, if you had the luggage scale and knew ahead of time, you could have just gotten like an extra bag for that stuff. And then it would have been the extra bag check fee maybe. But
listen,
not $80.
When you gift and you're not sure what to get, just get a gift card or a cash card or something. It's light. It's easy. You don't have to think about it.
Somebody at Newark Airport that day got a bunch of Yankee candles and we're very happy.
No, that's what they got. They got like 5 Yankee candles.
Wow.
Well, remember, you can send in your comments to feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. And of course, if you're a patron, you can comment on anything that we post on Patreon as well. Len Peralta has been drawing something throughout the show. Let's check in with him now. What you got for us, Len?
Tomorrow, did you know what tomorrow is? Tomorrow's October 31st, but it's also Halloween.
What?
And I think
goodness.
that is why Threads has created the Ghost Post. So here's what this is. It's the Ghost Post.
That's cute.
I did my first Ghost Post yesterday, which is over in the corner there. Today is my birthday, I put that on there just to test it.
Happy birthday to Len.
Thank you. But other things like I didn't like the Peacemaker finale. It was something you would post on there. Just I don't know. It's Happy Halloween, everybody. I guess.
I mean, Halloween is one of the most sugar-filled holidays I've ever experienced.
I think it's solidly the most.
Yes.
No, well, I mean, it's
Sugar-filled
a close running with Thanksgiving and Christmas because for some reason,
not even
I guess
close.
that's true.
At least here in North America, we pack all the sugar at the end of the year.
This is right. Well, if you are interested in getting this and in commemorating the Ghost Post stuff over at Threads, you can go get it right now at my Patreon, patreon.com/Len. Or you can go to my online store, lenperaltastore.com, which, by the way, I am doing custom-drawn holiday cards again this year. Support human art, not a heart, but, and have me, a real flesh and blood human, draw your holiday
Support
card
art
this
with
year.
your heart.
That's right.
Art
there
heart.
you go. I'm having a hard time
heart.
speaking. So, but yeah, so there you go. Oh, yes, thank you.
Trisha Hershberger, thank you for coming and hanging out with us today. Why don't you tell our listeners and our viewers what you've got going on?
Well, thank you all so much for having me. This has been so lovely. For anyone that wants to follow my content, I mostly focus on tech, video games, sci-fi, fantasy, general fandom content, toys and collectibles related to fandom, etc. You can follow me online at that GRL Trish. So it's that girl Trish with no I in the word girl. And that's on almost all the places except for Twitch and YouTube, which are just my full name, Trisha Hershberger. So follow me in all the places. If you like fun content, I do have a full video on the the ROG Xbox Ally X. For those who want more information and a deeper conversation than we had today, please feel free to check that out.
During the show, you've been submitting titles over at dtns.showbot.tv, and we've got some pretty good ones for you. Let's kick it off right at the top here with Will Ghosting Post Be Short-Lived by the Reverb Mic.
Very clever. Short-lived. Get it?
Ghosts. Get it?
Mm-hmm.
Larry in Atlanta submits Threads Fear of Missing Out or Threads FOMO.
Yeah. You got to check in. You never know what Rob's going to say next.
Let's see. ROG, Xbox or not. That's also by JPEG84.
I want to give a special shout out to the Reverb Mic for the 5 Yankee candles won't make it home.
And they didn't. They just
Zoe
didn't.
Brings Bacon chimes in with pulling a fast one on the boss.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Submitting fraudulent receipts with the help of AI.
So, Sarah, what did we decide to go with today?
Well, it was a tough one, Rob, because we got lots of good submissions, but we ended up going with E. Clay Thomason's LLM-bezzling.
I like that one. I like that one.
It's really good. Really
That's
good.
good.
Very
one.
clever.
Very good play
Very
on
clever.
words.
Lots of puns today, everybody. Keep it up. So good stuff. And thanks to everybody for playing along with us.
I want to give everyone on Twitch who's been supporting us through the show a special shout out to Zoe Brings Bacon, Brian M64 for cheering us on with bits, Ryan Minneapolis, Fakey Nose Grub 00, Theater Monkey, Brian M64 for resubscribing with Prime and following us, as well as the 2 hype trains everyone helped generate over the past 30 minutes.
Beautiful. Well, just a reminder, we are live every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern. That's 2000 UTC. It'll be 2100 UTC next week. You'll find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live. Love to have you along for the live ride. It's a lot of fun. Be sure to keep up with Daily Tech headlines and Daily Tech News Show all week. Plus, Live With It episodes. We do that weekly now. New hangouts throughout the week and new bonus weekend content. We will see you next Thursday. This episode of DTNS Live was created by the following people. Producer-host Sarah Lane. Host Tom Merritt. Host Rob Dunewood. Producer Roger Chang. Video producer Joe Coons. Producer at large Anthony Lemos. Social media producer and moderator Zoe Detterding. Our mods, Beatmaster, W. Scottus1, BioCow, Capt Kipper, Steve Guadarrama, Paul Reese, Matthew J. Stevens, a.k.a. Gadget Virtuoso, and J.D. Galloway. Mod and video hosting by Dan Christensen. Music provided by Martin Bell and Dan Luters. Art by Len Peralta. Acast ad support from Tatiana Matias. Patreon support from Bobby Wagner. Our guests this week were Trisha Hershberger and Chris Christensen. And thank you to all our patrons who make the show possible.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
I was like, who's Bobby Wagner? Never seen that name before.
Yeah, that was new.
I guess we have a new patron.